Hi, this is Chris Hoy. Thank you for joining me on Create with Chris for this acrylic painting tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how easy it is to paint this festive holiday tree, step by step from start to finish. So let's get started. This pack uses acrylic paint, a few brushes, and lots of sparkle. So whether you are a beginner or painting for fun, this is quick, easy, and impressive. The stencil fits the wood surface perfectly, and I am sealing it with a coat of multi-purpose sealer using a 1.5-inch flat. I love the bigger brush. It has soft bristles, perfectly smooth coat. Give it a quick dry and a light sand. Base coating with Arbor Green. I'm using the 3/4 inch oval wash. Again, it's a real soft bristle brush, and it really applies a nice even layer of paint. Not so much worried about solid opaque coverage. I just want it to be nice and even. This color covers very well. Give it a quick dry. This is the base coat. The tree itself is just really simple, quick strokes. And sometimes that's hard to do. It always seems like it's easy to overthink it. Using foliage green and Hauser dark green, putting it on rather heavy, and then just pulling up. I didn't even clean my brush, just pulling the paint down, kind of going in the direction of the branches. And I found out it was easier to add the dark green and then go back and just pull the foliage green up from the tips. And do this while it's still wet and just let the brush kind of blend into the light color, blend softly into the dark color. And that's what creates the look of the tree. It's that simple. It truly is a very easy technique. And this needs to be super dry before we can put the stenciling on because the paint is on there rather thick. It's going to take just a little bit longer than just a regular base coat. Now, when I say it's on there thick, I don't mean it's lumpy. It's just heavier paint. And I just went back. If you notice any areas that aren't covered well, just go back and touch them up. It only takes a minute. I anchored the stencil down with 2 pieces of painter's tape. I lined the bottom of the stencil up with the bottom of the tree. It seemed like it really worked out well that way. Using 2 different colors of paint because I want to change a couple of the words from white to red. Loaded my stencil brush with Snow White, and you can see I'm using my Painter's Pal, which is a tool I developed. Not only is it perfect for adding circles and ovals, but I use it often to like a little mask. I don't want to get the white paint in the mistletoe, so I just kind of use those curved and flat areas around the Painter's Pal to cover up those areas that I don't want to get white paint into. Works really, really well. And I'll use this quite a few times during this stenciling. The stencil brush is one of my own designs. I developed it with super soft bristles so that I could get a really nice soft stenciled effect. Load the bristles well with paint, wipe over a paper towel to remove the excess. And you don't, because the bristles are so soft, you don't need heavy pressure, just a nice light tap. White is kind of hard to cover, so definitely going to need 2 coats, but you can see how I reposition that Painter's Pal so I can work around the areas that I don't want to get the white paint in. It's just a great handy little tool for many, many reasons. But just keep a light pressure on the stencil brush, a soft tap, tap, tap. Stenciling is a technique where patience is the winner. Too much paint is going to run under the edges. You want those crisp, clean edges. Take your time, wipe that excess off the bristles each time you reload. Keep a light pressure. If you start to run out of paint, reload the brush. Don't press harder. It's just so easy to try to go faster or try to load more paint on it to make it a quicker process. Stenciling is just slow and steady wins the race kind of thing. You want to make sure that the paint is on nice and even. Now I've switched to a number 4 stencil brush. I was using a number 5, which is much larger. And you can see how it's going to be real hard to get in that mistletoe unless you mask it off. So I grabbed two different my painter's tools and using that. Now this is kind of fun. Use those curves to go around the different letters. Makes it really easy. That way you don't get them into areas where you don't want the paint. It's not so much the pink, but boy, if you get pink over white, it's really hard to cover up those darker strokes. And I can just use those edges. It works well. On those little dots, I just put a circle there. On the heart, I just put an oval and then I stenciled right over it. And I only get the red paint exactly where I want it to be. These painter's tools are just priceless. Again, using the little circle to do those little clusters of dots. I use the corner cutout for Mary. It just makes it so much quicker. If you go in and try to tape everything off, I have really almost ruined a stencil because I put tape on it and then I pull it off. And it's if it is a fragile stencil, or like on some of these letters have some little delicate cutout areas, when you pull the tape off, sometimes you can damage your stencil. So having something handy like the painter's tools is just perfect. And my stencil brush is so soft I can use it to base coat as well. So I went ahead and base coated the bottom of the tree also. Now I put the melon on because if I use the red on top of that dark green, it just wouldn't glow. I want it to really be bright. So I am using True Red over that melon and it looks beautiful. Because I've sped the video up, it takes a good bit of time by the time you start at top and go to the bottom. So all the letters up at the top are dry by the time I get down at the bottom. So I can go from one color right into the next color. And the first application is going to be very dry. Just a nice even coverage. And I think I got a little bit of red paint on my white, which I'll have to go back and touch up. But this is so much easier than trying to mask it all off and be careful about getting it here. And you can see how easy it is to use that oval to do those hearts. That little corner is just priceless when it comes to getting into tight areas. I am a messy painter, a messy stenciler, so using these tools just really expedites everything, and it turns out so much neater and nicer, and I'm not spending all my time cleaning up mistakes. It's always great to find a shortcut unless it takes more time in the long run, and this has just been a great tool to really help out with adding paint into small areas. Now I'm just going back. The white takes a couple coats to really cover well. I know that I'm going to be adding some glamour dust on it, which really helps to smooth out, almost kind of mutes the brush strokes. But if there's any areas, I'll go back and touch them up with a little bit of white. Now I'm using Moon Yellow, and I dropped down to a number 3 stencil brush because those stars are so tiny. I want to make sure that I have good control. And again, I'm using a circle. I was careful not to use a circle that I had used on the red because I didn't want to lift any paint off and make my stars orange. So I'm just picking different circles, making sure that the star is visible, and I'm taking my time. I know it looks like I'm going fast because I did speed up the video, but I wanted to make sure, and I did the star at the top. One of my stars to have a little bit of sparkle and shine, so I'm top coating the moon yellow with 24 karat extreme sheen gold. Gosh, that's a gorgeous color, but it's a little bit translucent. It's probably one of the better golds for coverage. However, having that moon yellow underneath of it just makes it look fantastic. It's a gorgeous. Oh, I forgot one of my little clusters of berries right there. Looks pretty good. Have to go back and touch those up. And I use my stencil brush just to base coat that basin for the tree because the bristles are so soft. It's super easy. I missed a little bit of paint there, so I went back with foliage green. It was a little bit bright, so I blended it up into the rest of it. You just need to make sure when you do the tree, you have those 3 definite layers so that it really looks like a tree. A little bit of deep burgundy, add a touch of shading down the side. I did the right below the tree and along the right side of the tree holder, and just put a second coat on to deepen it. Align with my Epic script liner of moon yellow. And then once that is dry, give it a quick dry, and then I'll do the same thing, top coat it with that 14 karat gold. That is just so beautiful. If you've not used it before and looking for a good gold, that one is stunning. Some of these words have to have splits in them so that the stencil holds together, but I think some of the words look a little bit better if they're connected. I only did a few. I like the L's on Jolly and the J and the O on Hope, and the rest of them were fine. I just thought those needed a little bit of connection. And because I did 2 coats with the stencil, it needs 2 coats also with to touch it up. The star at the top is not yellow. I wanted it white. I did base coat the bottom part on the green with yellow because that moon yellow is a little more opaque than white. And just to make it easier to cover, I wanted to put that yellow on there just to kind of give a good buffer. And I will do 2 coats on the top. Just kind of checking everything, see how it looks. Nice crisp edges. Make sure everything is super, super dry. Touch that up just a little bit. Going to be putting on the Starlight Varnish and Glamour Dust. Just need to reposition the stencil and tack it down in place. Now, I'm using the Starlight Varnish basically as an adhesive for the Crystal Glamour Dust. You need to put the Glamour Dust on while it is still wet because there's so much stenciling on this tree. The only way to do it successfully is to do it in sections. So I put Starlight Varnish on the letters at the top, put a little bit of Glamour Dust on, and then I'll just continue down. When you are adding the Glamour Dust or the Starlight Varnish, oh my goodness, don't go too heavy on it because it will ooze out underneath the stencil and you'll have the sparkle will be, even if your letters are clean and crisp, if you put the varnish on too heavy, it's going to ooze out and be kind of messy. So take your time. Again, it looks like I'm going super fast because the video has been sped up, but I only do small sections and I use a light touch, same concept with the regular stenciling with paint, light touch, even coverage. Don't pounce real heavy. You want to just put it on nice and even. I missed some parts on the bottom of the Christmas. So I just went back and added a little more down there. And you will be able to tell if you missed any places. I always use a sheet of tracing paper underneath my varnish or my Glamour Dust, and then I just funnel it back into my bottle. Gosh, I've had a bottle of Glamour Dust and I use it a lot for years. I put it on the top. I wanted the top star pretty heavy, and then I just lightly pressed on it to make sure that it embedded into that varnish. Let it dry thoroughly and then lightly dust it and tap to remove the excess glitter. I love how this turned out and hope you give it a try. If you're looking for a quick gift, I think this would be just perfect. Everything used is available on my website, and I'll list the link below. Let me know if you have any comments or questions. Be sure to check out my other videos, give me a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss out on upcoming videos. I hope you learned a few new tips, tricks, and techniques. Make your painting life a little easier and a lot more fun. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to our next painting adventure together.